It's a little bit foggy out there. The upper part of the hill is kind of covered in clouds, which is really neat. We're getting ready. We just had breakfast, and now we're getting ready to head down to the bus and go off to our next stop. This was a really quick trip to Derry, but I feel like it was a good introduction and definitely somewhere that I would consider coming back to again. I feel like you could spend quite a few weeks just kind of exploring the city and seeing all the sights around here. So that's always a neat thing when you visit somewhere and you want to come back.
Yeah, don't be afraid of Northern Ireland. It's a good spot.
I never thought I would come here, really. So it's, I feel like that makes it like kind of extra neat to be here.
Yeah.
That you can visit now.
Yeah, we walked around the city. It was fine.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was very nice. Yeah, very clean. You couldn't ask for much more from a city.
All right, ready to head down?
So.
To the bus.
And come back.
We got back onto the bus because we were moving from Derry to our second location of the trip. We were heading through Belfast, and then a little bit south of there, we were going to be stopping at the Game of Thrones studio tour and then heading on to Carlingford. It's a game.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of game.
Yeah, I don't know.
Neat.
That's different.
It was a bit damp and foggy out today, so we were glad that we had an indoor activity scheduled for the day. And since we didn't plan this trip, we were on a group tour, I didn't do any research ahead of time. We basically got the itinerary about 2 weeks before we left, so I didn't even really know what this Game of Thrones tour entailed, and I don't think we were that excited about it until we actually got there. And we got lost on the way there, so it actually took a bit longer than it should have. We ended up in some very narrow lane, and the bus driver had to do a K-turn with a bus. But thanks to Joe's impressive driving skills, we did end up making it to the Game of Thrones tour. To start the tour, they gathered us into a room and showed us a movie to set the stage. We weren't allowed to film that part, but then a door opens and you walk through just like you are going north of the wall. And then you immediately see the characters that you would find on that side. One of the best things about Game of Thrones are the intricate costumes that they created for each of the characters, and you get to see those up close when you do the tour. We really think that Game of Thrones is one of the best shows that have ever been put together when you consider the intricacy of the costumes, the sets, the acting, the storyline. It just comes together to create such a high quality show. You also get to see some of the components that went into the planning and design behind the scenes. The stages and the sets that they created were so intricate, and you get to see where these ideas started and how they actually developed them into what you see on the show. One of the interesting things about this tour is that most of the people who work in the facility were actually involved in the production in some way. Some of them were extras, some of them had roles, some of them worked behind the scenes, and you can ask them questions and talk to them about their experience in making the film, and they are so excited to talk about it. You can tell that they just loved their experience.
Snowy, King's Landing, a bit more sort of luxurious, and the drivers supposed to be, because it's not just one building.
As you walk around, you get to see different props. The dragon in the cage, the banners that they used for different scenes, and especially if you've seen the show, it brings back all of those iconic scenes and what was happening in that episode. So that's really fun. You also got to see how many different filming locations they used in Ireland, and we already went to the castle. We just got to talk to one of the workers who's actually an extra, or not even an extra, she had a role in the show, which is really neat.
This is gonna be jamming in the future. It's just a legend. Little do you know.
We were pretty surprised that our tour group was the only one there. And we talked to some of the workers. They said that they had only been open for a few months. So this is relatively new, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. We had never heard of it. And COVID really slowed down the whole process of opening up the studio tour. But I think in the upcoming years, as the word gets out, anybody who is a Game of Thrones fan would so enjoy this process. It just connects you that much more to the storyline, and you get to see the costumes and learn more about the characters, and you get to see the props in person, which I feel like connects you to the story so much more. You're a King's Guard. Oh, your dad's a White Walker.
Oh, geez, he would be.
The tour included some fun interactive exhibits if you wanted to become a White Walker, or if you wanted to take a picture of your face and have that added to the wall of faces. We were actually supposed to eat lunch while we're there, but Patrick and I spent so much time walking around and looking at the different exhibits that we didn't even eat lunch. We figured we would skip it and we would just eat when we got to Carlingford.
Already made up. It looks like I got makeup already made up.
The tour seemed to keep going and going. Every time we would turn a corner, you would see another iconic prop, or you would come upon another scene that was pivotal in the show, and it would just bring you right back to that experience, because if you've seen Game of Thrones, you know that it is very suspenseful. It is full of twists and turns and all sorts of things that you are not expecting, and I feel like the studio tour was very similar.
Yeah, you've seen me before, yes.
The room with the map was one of my favorite parts. It was so neat to be in there. There were so many great scenes that were filmed in that room. But there was one area that we were looking forward to. We knew that the Iron Throne had to be somewhere, so we kept waiting for it to be around the next corner.
There it is.
This room was so well done. You had the dragon flying on the screens in the background, and you really felt like you were in the ruins of the castle with the music and all of the elements pulled together, you really felt like you were there. If you are a fan of Game of Thrones, we definitely recommend visiting the studio and maybe even visiting some of the on-site locations that you can see in Northern Ireland. That was actually neater than we expected it to be. We thought it was just going to be like a big open area where they had filmed some of the things, but you actually get to walk into the set. So that was really a super neat trip once we actually got here. After a few circles and getting lost for a little while, we finally made it, but I would say worth it.
Oh, the maternity hospital is separate, yeah. Some hospitals would have a maternity unit, you know, but in Limerick now, for instance, you have the UHL, the University Hospital. That's the big hospital, and then you have the maternity hospital at the other side of the city, you know.
We found out that the reason they got lost on the way to the studio is that they had the wrong address. So Patrick had helped him and made some phone calls, and they finally got the correct address.
Now you see where your man parks his car out the back door here. You see that? On the left.
Yes.
Look where you have to park.
Oh, Sister Chips.
Carlingford is located on the water, and this area has a bunch of things to do in the warmer weather. You can go out kayaking, there are hiking trails that I so wanted to try out, but since things were a little bit rushed and we were on a schedule on this trip, no time for hiking. But the drive-in gave you a nice overview of this little seaside town.
Now the main street is down to our right here where the car is turning up there, folks. Just a little bit down the left hand side, you can see it from here actually. That's to do with Darcy McGee. See the little monument on the right there? That's so Darcy McGee.
We were staying at the Four Seasons in Carlingford. Definitely not our usual accommodations. When we were checking in, most of the rooms were ready, but our room was not. And the manager immediately said, "Oh, I'm so sorry your room is not ready. Can I get you a drink at the bar?" And we were like, "Oh, okay, I guess that's a good way to pass the time." So we hung out in the bar and it was empty. So we just kind of relaxed and soaked in the scenery because the view out the window was so beautiful with the mountains in the background. And then we were ready to check into our room. Light. Okay.
Coffee and tea.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's the leisure center.
I mean, like, bumping the music.
Oh, maybe like they're working out.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's probably what it is.
Maybe. I like the crushed velvet. The chairs and the bed. We are at the Four Seasons in Carlingford, and it was funny when the manager came on the bus to welcome us here, and he said that breakfast was going to be at 8, and everyone said, "Oh, 8 is too late. We leave at 9. Can you make it 7:30?" And he said, "Okay, yes, breakfast is at 7:30," just like that. And then when Pat and I came in, our room wasn't ready yet, so he immediately walked over and our key wasn't on the table, so he said, "Oh, come to the bar, let me get you a drink." And I was like, very, very attentive customer service, so that's always nice. We are going to take a walk downtown and hopefully find somewhere to eat. It's already getting dark. I feel like today went really fast, but this is supposed to be a very cute town, and we're going to be eating here tomorrow night, so we figured we would go to town tonight and hopefully find somewhere that is open, because it is a little bit of the off season, so like the hotel is a little bit quieter. Well, not quiet now because the 2 buses just got here, but our group will definitely keep it lively. I forgot to do a bathroom tour in the last place, but actually this bathroom is much nicer, so this one's more interesting. There's a nice big shower. The toilet doesn't face the wall, and the other place it faced the wall. So, alright, Ready?
Yes.
Okay, to dinner.
To eat it.
Haven't eaten since 7.
Yeah.
7:30.
Well, you worried about you and me, the injustice, the next president to be, the news and what you hear, your career. It's time for you to face those fears, and it's all fair to be aware, and I'll be there. So don't be scared. Just take a deep breath of air. And 1, 2, 3 to 10, you begin to focus again. And though time flies, we'll have enough to realize this bigger than the both of us.